have been bumped down the pecking order. When you go to the website, now they're much lower down.
Is that he will have to give up his titles, his honorary.
Developing today, and I can reveal something that insiders are calling nothing short of a seismic rupture inside the British monarchy. A shift so quiet, so calculated, that most people never saw it coming until it was already too late. For months, something has been brewing behind palace walls. Whispers, sealed rooms, private meetings. And now, it has detonated. Prince William has effectively taken operational control from a weakened, ailing King Charles. Not ceremonially, not symbolically, operationally. And once that happened, everything changed. Because the moment William stepped in, the countdown began. And according to sources who know exactly how these decisions move through hidden corridors of power, the final mechanism to strip Prince Harry and Meghan of their titles has been triggered. Not discussed. Trigger. But what everyone is watching isn't the procedure itself. That part is cold, technical, inevitable. What people are desperate to understand is the reason. The why. Because this didn't start with polls. It didn't start with public pressure or angry headlines. It started with something far more personal and far more dangerous. An insider claims the spark was an object no one expected to ever resurface. A private diary belonging to Queen Elizabeth II. Not a memoir.
That you just don't, if you're no longer doing the job of being royal, you don't get the police protection.
Not reflections meant for history. A working diary. Handwritten. Raw. The kind of record a monarch keeps when she cannot speak aloud. They said that you just don't, if you're no longer doing the job of being a royal, you don't get the police protection. And according to those who have seen portions of that diary, what it contains is unforgivable. The entries point to a bombshell incident tied directly to Meghan Markle, something the Queen herself flagged as a potential stain on the crown if it were ever proven. At the same time, a name many believed had been buried forever in Meghan's past was dragged violently back into the present. Trevor Angelin, Meghan's ex-husband, sources say Trevor was quietly instructed to leave the UK within days of William's discovery. No explanation, no public record, just gone. And that alone sent shockwaves through diplomatic and media circles. Was he being protected? Or silenced? Or was he the missing piece that could crack the entire story wide open? The palace, as expected, refused to comment, but Harry's actions spoke louder than any statement. Because after his sudden emergency trip to Britain, he didn't return to Montecito. Instead, he vanished, lying low in a modest lodging near Heathrow, avoiding cameras, avoiding friends, avoiding his wife. A prince without a palace, a husband without answers.
The UK, I don't think UK taxpayers should have to pay for their security when they're not even real members of the royal family anymore.
So what is Meghan's secret? And why was it explosive enough to make Prince William hand down a verdict with no mercy? Late afternoon in Montecito. The sun sinks low over the Pacific, turning the sky a deep, unsettling red. Harry sits alone in the study, windows thrown open, ocean air slicing through the sticky California heat. He hasn't spoken all day. His phone lies face down on the desk, buzzing again and again. He doesn't touch it. Then the doorbell rings. A delivery driver leaves a small, unmarked cardboard box on the porch. No return address, no logo. Just layers of brown tape wrapped so tight it feels almost desperate. Harry brings it inside, cuts through the tape. Inside, a thick envelope. And beneath it, a sleek black USB wrapped carefully in white tissue. His heart starts racing so hard his hands begin to shake. He opens the envelope first. A 5x7 color photograph slides out. It's Meghan. Wearing a long camel coat, hair pulled into a tight high bun, stepping out of the automatic doors of a private Los Angeles hospital.
Look, Harry, he lost his police protection in 2020 because he moved to America.
And beside her, Trevor Angelin, not touching, just close enough to be speaking. Far enough to avoid accusation. But the detail hits like a punch to the chest. Behind them, the hospital signage. Women's Health and Reproductive Medicine, Obgyn. In the corner of the photo, faint but unmistakable a timestamp, October 17th, 2017. Exactly 2 weeks before Meghan announced her engagement to Prince Harry. Harry flips the photo over, handwritten in black ink. Meghan has been found out. Ask her where the baby really went. The room tilts. He rips open the second envelope. More photographs spill out, same day, same angle, different times. Meghan and Trevor entering and exiting the building 3 separate times that afternoon. Then the final image, Trevor holding a thick brown medical envelope, the kind American clinics use for ultrasound prints. Prenatal results. Harry's breath catches. At the bottom of the box, the USB. He plugs it into his MacBook, hands shaking so badly he has to try twice. One single audio file appears. For H only, the recording crackles to life. Leather chairs creaking. Then a voice. Prince William's, not polished, not ceremonial, cold, precise, lethal. Titles are not a game. This ends before the 3rd anniversary of the Queen's passing. Harry and Meghan will be stripped of their ducal titles under the Royal Titles Act of 1917. No negotiation. No delay. No mercy. Harry freezes. His phone vibrates. Unknown number. UK country code. He answers. Silence. Soft breathing. Then a woman's voice. Ancient, gentle, cold as marble, Prince Harry, the process to remove the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles has already begun. The Privy Council will vote immediately after the 3rd anniversary memorial. If you wish to defend your titles, you have exactly 46 hours. Who is this? Harry demands. The line goes dead. Harry stands there for minutes that feel like hours. One thought pounding through his skull. William knew, and he chose the most devastating moment possible. Harry doesn't tell Meghan. He books a jet. At 2:13 a.m. California time, while Meghan sleeps upstairs. The plane roars down the runway and vanishes into the black. Harry clutches the box like a live grenade. He doesn't look back. And what does William know that made him pull the trigger now? Windsor Castle. Late autumn 2025. Fog coils around the stone like something alive. William enters the Queen's private apartment. Rooms untouched since her passing. He kneels before the hidden safe, inside a dark green leather diary. He opens it. A red thread marks the page the Queen wanted him to read this, and as he scans her handwriting, his blood runs cold. By the time Harry lands at Farnborough, the machinery is already moving. He hides near Heathrow, no flags, no staff, just silence. Meghan's calls pile up, confusion, anger, panic. Harry doesn't answer. The meeting at St. James's Palace is brief, brutal. William slides a folder across the table. Medical logs, travel manifests, affidavits. I didn't build this, William says quietly. I inherited it. The announcement hits the world like thunder. Back in California, Meghan goes live. Eyes glossy, voice shaking. She cries persecution, but she never mentions hospitals, or dates, or Trevor. The public notices. Single photo leaks, grainy, old. Harry watches the news alone. The fairy tale is over. The Privy Council votes. The titles go. And once the crown stops protecting you, there is no shelter left, only the reckoning. And this time, it isn't going away. Harry didn't move when the confirmation finally came through. No announcement on television, no dramatic fanfare. Just a quiet message pushed through official channels, stripped of emotion the way the monarchy prefers when it wants something to disappear without fingerprints. Effective immediately after the memorial. Clean. Final. Irreversible. He sat there, staring at the blank wall of that small room near Heathrow. The kind of room designed for people who don't want to be seen. The hum of traffic outside sounded distant, unreal. For years, he had told himself he already lost everything that mattered. His role. His place. His family. But this felt different. This felt like the ground beneath him, finally giving way. His phone buzzed again. Meghan, he watched. The screen light up, her name flashing insistently, and for the first time since he'd met her, he felt something unfamiliar twist in his chest. Not devotion, not anger. Doubt? He let it ring. In Montecito, Meghan was unrailing. The house that once felt like a fortress now felt like a stage with the curtains being ripped down. Advisors rotated in and out. Voices overlapping, strategies colliding. She paced barefoot across the polished floor, rage and fear snapping at each other inside her chest. They're moving too fast, she snapped. This isn't how it's done. They don't have the authority. But even as she said it, she could feel it slipping. The narrative wasn't obeying her anymore. Every hour brought another headline, another unnamed source, another carefully placed word that cut deeper than any accusation. Misrepresentation. Circumstances. Pregnancy. She refreshed her phone obsessively, waiting for Harry to respond. To defend her, to say this was all madness. Silence. Back in London, Harry finally broke, not with tears, not with anger, with exhaustion, the kind that settles into your bones. When you realize you've been carrying a lie longer than you can remember. He replayed the images again in his mind, the timestamps, the hospital sign, the envelope in Trevor's hands. He thought about moments he'd brushed aside. Conversations that never quite made sense. Stories that shifted just enough to avoid clarity. At the time, he told himself it didn't matter. Love didn't need answers. Loyalty meant not asking. Now, sitting alone, that logic felt hollow. A message finally came through from his father. Handle this quietly. Don't let the children become collateral. Harry closed his eyes. The children, for the first time since the nightmare began, that word cut through the fog. Whatever else was true, whatever else had been hidden or distorted, they were real, innocent, watching a world collapse without understanding why. The memorial approached with brutal speed. Preparations continued as if nothing extraordinary was happening. That was the cruelty of it. The machine never stopped. Grief and discipline moved side by side. William stayed out of sight. No interviews, no leaks, just action. Those close to him noticed the change. He spoke less, slept less. The weight of his grandmother's words sat heavily on him, but there was no hesitation. She had waited, she had hoped. Now it was his responsibility to finish what she had begun. The night before the memorial, Harry stood alone outside Windsor. Fog rolled in again, thick and unforgiving. For a moment, he considered calling Meghan, telling her everything, demanding the truth, whatever it was. But something stopped him. He realized he was afraid of the answer. Inside Montecito, Meghan went live again. Her voice was steadier this time, sharper. She spoke of strength, of survival, of defying systems designed to break women who refused to stay silent. The comments flooded in, some supportive, some vicious, many asking the same question she refused to answer. Where was Harry? By morning, the memorial unfolded with solemn precision. Black coats, bowed heads, controlled emotion, and just beneath the surface, an ending quietly locking into place. After the ceremony, the confirmation went through. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were no more. No cheers. No boos. Just a collective intake of breath across media, politics, and society. A line had been crossed that could not be uncrossed. Harry felt it immediately. Not as pain, but as absence. Like a limb gone numb. He was still a prince by birth, but stripped of the thing that had tethered him to the institution he'd spent his life orbiting. Later that evening, William stood alone again, looking out over the grounds. He didn't feel victorious, he felt older. He thought of his brother as they once were. Two boys walking behind a coffin, unaware of how many more they would one day follow. Across the ocean, Meghan stared out at the Pacific, phone finally silent. The world was no longer listening the way it once had. The story had slipped from her hands, rewritten by documents, dates, and decisions made long before she knew they existed. And in that quiet room near Heathrow, Harry finally picked up his phone. One message. Drafted. Deleted. Drafted again. I need the truth. He didn't send it. Because some questions once asked can never be taken back. And some answers don't just change stories, they end them. The Crown had made its choice.